To his right is Shelly Evans. She has master's degrees in sociology, social work, and administration of justice, along with numerous certifications. She is currently the executive director of Community Health Initiatives, which is a local nonprofit organization. I'm sure she's going to tell us a little more about it. And she's associated with many other organizations in the Valley. And in fact, she was named one of Aspen's People of the Year. How can you tell if your son or daughter is using pot? You have a lot of experience with this. Would you enlighten us?
Well, thank goodness I didn't get the brain question. Whoa. This is a difficult question, and I kind of hesitate to answer it sometimes because it opens up a can of worms. Because many of you sitting out in the audience, when I answer this question, as parents, you're going to be sitting there going, OMG, every one of my kids is smoking pot, including the 5-year-old. So I really want you, as I go through a list, and I'm going to go through a list really quickly of some signs and symptoms of possible marijuana use by teenagers, or it could be adults also. But I want you to keep in mind that some of the signs and symptoms I'm going to go through may be marijuana use, and it could be something else, that it's often teenagers just doing what teenagers do. You know, and teenagers will tell you, okay, I just am sleepy during the day sometimes. I'm not smoking pot. But when you have a cumulative effects of many of the signs and symptoms I'm going to tell you, then we really need to take a look at that this is a kid who is using marijuana. So just take what I'm saying and be realistic, okay? And don't jump to conclusions, because then I'm going to have a bunch of kids calling me up and going, what the heck? Okay, because I'm a certified addictions counselor, and I have kids on a caseload, and I have lots and lots of parents, and I would really like for them to continue coming to see me and not going, I don't ever want to see you again, adolescent counselor. So just please be reasonable when I go through this list. So one of the things we do want to look at is physical evidence. So one of the things that you should be looking at is a change, and Dr. Bernkrant talked a little bit about some of these things that happen with kids, but you want to look at a change in your kids, the patterns of them coming and going, what they're doing, where they're going, who they're hanging out with. You want to take note of unusual items in your home. And Felix can probably talk about that a little bit, and I'm actually going to defer back to him in a little bit. But you want to pay attention to specialized devices such as pipes and grinders and rolling papers. What are kids doing with those things? You want to track your child's spending habits. Now, kids around here compared to kids in other communities seem to have a lot of money. So pay close attention to that some kids just have a lot of money, but if there's an unusual amount of money that they have or that they're spending, you want to pay close attention to that. Pay attention to items that might be disappearing from your home. Check for evidence that your kid's trying to conceal marijuana use. And one of the ways that kids do that is they'll roll up towels and put them under doors or put them in windows to keep the pot smoke or cigarette smoke from drifting into living areas of your home. So just, pay close attention to things. Other things that you want to do are like physical signs of marijuana intoxication. Look at your kids' eyes, okay? Just look at your kids' eyes. Pupils may be dilated, which means they're wide open. Their eyes may not track moving objects in unison. Now, one of the difficulties with this is we are in allergy season, okay? My husband is sitting in the audience right now, Dr. Evans. He is incredibly allergic. Actually, I'm not sure if he's awake right now, seriously, because he will fall asleep because of the allergies, and you could look at him and his eyes would be so bloodshot, and I could say to him, honey, really? Have you been over at James's place? buying some pot because you look stoned, and it is allergy. So please be very careful before you accuse people of smoking pot. Note any tendency to be sleepy at unusual times during the day or weird times. Kids are sleepy, okay? You know, they sleep a lot. So just be careful about accusing kids of stuff. But be aware of impaired coordination, slow reflexes that might be unusual. Look for a silver-coated tongue. But be careful about that. I take medication, and I take medication for migraines. My tongue is coated sometimes. Be careful about that. But marijuana will tend to give you a silver-coated tongue. Slight tremors in the eyelids. People that smoke pot seem to be a little bit slower in their understanding of things sometimes. They may be a little bit moody. Dr. Bernkrant talked about that they will exhibit signs of anxiety and signs of paranoia. And watch their eating habits. It does create the munchies. So watch that. Behavioral changes. Marijuana changes the way, particularly for teenagers who have not yet compensated or been able to accommodate, which is one of the words that Dr. Bernkrant used. It changes the way they relate, particularly to you as parents, but also to their peers. So it changes the way they relate. They may detach. Again, we talk a little bit about paranoia. Also, watch that giggling uncontrollably. Okay, kids will giggle uncontrollably when they're under the influence of marijuana. So, and they'll laugh at things that are not at all funny. Okay, because of the impulsivity that they have. Watch your kids' social circle. If they start hanging out with people, now kids hang out with people that you and I would not associate with. Come on, remember, we did that too, to our parents' chagrin. But if they're really hanging out with people that you would not really think, gosh, I just cannot imagine where these kids came from, you want to pay close attention to that. One of the things parents absolutely don't want to do, and I say absolutely do it, is view your kids' internet history. One of the sites that a lot of the kids are going to is a site called erowid.org, EROWID.org. Now, kids will go to that because they're curious, but if they're going to that repeatedly, there's something going on. So those are just some of the signs or symptoms, and I got a thing from her saying, speed it up and quit talking, Shelly. Okay.
Well, actually, Shelly, I wanted to ask one more question. Once parents have identified a number of these symptoms and they think they should approach their kids, what should they not only bring to the table as far as questions, but how should they advise their kids on talking to their peers and rejecting, being offered marijuana, anything else like that?
And that's in 1 minute or less.
Yeah,
Shelly.
1 minute or less.
30
Okay.
seconds.
Yeah, you know what? The very first thing is absolutely do not be judgmental. Do not get dramatic with kids. I mean, that doesn't work. You know that, Felix.
Of course.
But be direct and share. Walk your own talk and share your concerns. Share that maybe you don't know anything as a parent and you need to ask some questions. But the second part of your question, Felix, is how do you help a kid overcome peer pressure? I am 55 years old. I do not know the answer to that question, and I am going to turn that one back to you.
I think it's that you have to let kids find something they're a little more passionate about than pleasing the people around them. For me, it was realizing that I wanted to do well in school and that I've wanted to be an engineer since I was in 4th grade. So when I realized that couldn't happen if I was doing poorly in school, that became my motivation, that my future relied on me making the correct decision, for my entire life as opposed to just making myself happy for 20 minutes. And thank you, Shelly and Dr. Bernkrant.
And thank you, Felix.